Tell me when.
When?
No? Ni hao. Hello. My name is Barry Potekin, and today I would like to speak to you on entrepreneurship. And I'm going to give a shortened version of normally what I talk about. I'm going to talk about myself a little bit, what happened to me. And I am going to talk about existing entrepreneurs that have successful businesses or trying to make their businesses more successful, and to new entrepreneurs that are trying to open their own business. Either they don't have enough money or they don't have an idea, or budding entrepreneurs who I would like to talk to. Now, this is a shortened version of everything that I talk about. So just wanted to let you know that. All right, let's go back, way back to when I was in grammar school. In the United States, grammar school is, I don't even know how old you are, 6 or 7 till 12 or 13. And let's go back to when I was in 5th grade, and I'm not quite sure how old you are in 5th grade, 9 or 10 years old. And I could not sit in my seat. I think I had what they call ADD, Attention Deficit Disorder. In those days, I don't even think they knew what that was, but I had so much energy, I could not sit in my seat. I would bounce, literally get out of my seat and bounce off the walls. And my teachers would go crazy. Barry, sit down, Barry, sit down. And I used to yell out, 5 minutes, school's over. It'd be 3:15, that's when school's over. I would blurt that out, or I'd be the kid that would say, 2 minutes to recess. I remember one time my teacher made me sit in the front row right in front of her desk with my hands folded like this and my feet like this. She says, you have to stay like that for the rest of the class. I made it about 2 minutes. I came out of that chair like a rocket ship. I just could not do that. I did somehow make it through grammar school, and I went on to high school for my teenage years. And high school was sort of a mixed bag for me. Socially, I had the time of my life. Unfortunately, I didn't do great at school. I just didn't study, and there was other things were going. My social life was more important to me. I regret that now, but that's the way it was. And when I got out of high school, something very, very traumatic happened to me. So traumatic that it still affects my life till today. And what happened to me was the 60s, the 1960s happened to me right in front of my eyes. As soon as I got out of high school, my hair went from like this all the way down to my shoulders. I grew a big mustache, and I became a wild child. That's what happened to me. The 1960s with the anti-war movement in Vietnam and hippies. I was a hippie, and I moved to Paris, France. I lived in Paris for a number of years, and then I moved to Africa. I lived in Nairobi, Kenya, in East Africa. And it was the beginning of what I call my lost decade. I sort of had a lost decade, 20 to 30. I sort of don't even remember it hardly. But at the end of that decade, I was back in, I lived in California. I was back in Africa for like the 3rd time when I was almost 30 years old. And by then I wanted to change. I wanted to come back to the United States. I wanted to cut off my hair, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was almost 30 years old. And I came back to the United States, and somebody gave me a book and said, you might want to read this. And that book changed my life. And that book was written by someone by the name of Harry Brown. And the name of the book was something to the effect of The Coming Devaluation of the U.S. Dollar. Now, Harry Brown, of all things, I read his book, Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, 2,000 years ago, said, in the lives of men, strange things happen. I think he was talking about me. Harry Brown eventually ran for president on the Libertarian ticket in the United States and became friends with friends of mine, and I met him. Who would have believed that? It's a small world. It's a funny world. But anyways, I read his book, The Coming Devaluation of the U.S. Dollar, and he said that the dollar was going to go down in value. So how can a dollar go down in value? I have a dollar in my pocket my whole life. Yeah, a dollar's a dollar. And he explained it to the balance of trade and so on and so forth. And then he started talking about gold and silver and foreign currencies. And I said, wow, this makes some sense to me. So I did get a job, and my first investment was in Swiss francs. And in those days, they hadn't made the money smaller. It was about that big. You had to fold it up 2 or 3 times. and I think I paid somewhere around 17 or 18 cents for a Swiss franc. I bought a couple of hundred Swiss franc notes. I think I eventually sold them for 80 or 85 cents. Turned in hindsight, it was a good investment. And I started buying silver coins. And from that, I saved up enough money to buy a gold coin. And that led me to the Chicago Board of Trade in Chicago, where they trade gold and silver on futures contracts. Gold is 100 ounces a contract. Silver is 5,000 ounces. And it's leveraged. And that's what I started doing. And all of a sudden, gold went from in a short period of time, gold went from $75 an ounce to $800 an ounce. And silver went from $5 an ounce to $52 an ounce. And I became rich. I made a couple $1 million very quickly. And I thought I was so smart. This is in the 70s, in the later 70s. And I thought I was so smart. And to be honest, I became arrogant and I became cocky. Two things you don't want to be. You don't want to be arrogant, and you don't want to be cocky. I see arrogant or cocky people, I want to slap them in the mouth. If you're a doctor, you're arrogant or cocky, it just means you're like a dope. If you're a pharmacist, it means you're a dope. Or if you work in a shoe store, a person should not do that for many, many, many reasons. But one of the big reasons is you have a tendency to take your eye off the ball because you think you're above it all. You think you're so smart. I was just lucky. I was lucky enough to do the right thing at the right time and crazy enough to keep pyramiding, which means every time I had a profit, I'd put it into more gold and more silver, more gold and more silver. But I did not. I took my eye off the ball. Just like in golf, you cannot take your eye off the ball. You take your eye off the ball, you'll see a bad shot every time. But gold went all the way back to $200 an ounce after going up to $800. Silver went from 5 to 52, all the way back to 5. The profits I had from the gold and silver, I was buying apartment buildings in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. The real estate market crashed, gold crashed, silver crashed, interest rates shot up to 17, 18%, and I went broke like that. In the bat of an eye, in a couple of months, I was living in a 14-room house with 7 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, a 4-car garage, and every year I used to get a new Cadillac. And like that, I went broke. Not only that, to make matters worse, growing up, I was always the golden boy. Whatever I did well. I played baseball good. I was on the swimming team. In high school, I did good. So my parents, who had saved up enough money to retire, gave the golden boy, me, all of their money to invest for them. So not only did I go broke and lost all of my money, I lost all of my parents' money. Yes, right. They had to go back to work after being retired. And it was the most horrible. I had no place to live. I went from a new Cadillac every year to taking a bus. If I had the quarter, it was 25 cents US to get onto the bus. I'd walk. It was unbelievably humiliating. Talk about being the opposite of arrogant and cocky. Humility pounded into me. I had no place to live. I slept on a friend's couch for a year. I went to a friend of mine and said, "Can I spend a couple weeks on your couch?" And he said, "Yeah." I stayed a year. Once a week, I would meet my father for breakfast, so we tried to figure out a comeback, something that we could do. And we used to meet at a place called the Bagel Nosh. It's not even there anymore, but it was on Rush Street in Chicago. And the reason why we met there is because it was the cheapest place in Chicago to have breakfast. For $1.50, you got eggs and some potatoes and a toasted bagel and a cup of coffee for $1.50. So that's where we would meet. Well, the famous day that they write articles about, and I'll tell you later, books, but that famous day, I showed up to the day that changed our lives. Again, my life was changed. But I was hoping my dad had $1.50. My dad was hoping I had $1.50. And in front of the restaurant, we counted out 80 cents. Between me and my father, we didn't own any paper money. We didn't have $1.50. We didn't forget our paper money at home on the dresser. We didn't own any paper money. So we went into the Bagel Nosh with 80 cents, and we had enough money for one bagel, a toasted bagel with a little butter. We split it to half for my father and a half for me, and 1 cup of coffee. Me and my dad split 1 cup of coffee. Take a sip, Dad. I took a sip. My dad took a sip. I took a sip. And over that breakfast, I saw my father do something that I had never seen him do before. And he started crying. I have never in my life seen my father cry. I saw him cry one time when his father died at the funeral. I have never seen my father cry. He started crying and he's saying crazy stuff. He was saying, look what we did. We ruined our lives. He didn't mean we. He meant me. He meant you. Look what you did. You ruined our lives. But he was my dad. He was covering for me. He was a good guy. And I couldn't believe it. So I gave us a pep talk. I said, Dad, that's it. This part of our life is over. Being broke is over. We're going to get back to $2 million. I'm going to get you all of your money back. And we got real psyched up, and we shot out of there like two Don Quixotes. We're going to make a comeback. The only thing we didn't have was an idea, money, credit, anyone to help us. No problem. Other than that, that part of our life was over. So I went back to my friend's house where I was staying, and I was thinking to myself, well, if I'm going to make this big comeback, how am I going to do it? What would I do? So I took a pencil and paper out, and I made a list. And I pretended that someone was going to loan me the money to do anything I wanted for a business. So I started to think, what would I do? What could I do? And I'm putting a shoe store, all kinds of stuff, jewelry. I'm putting stuff on the paper. And then I remembered that somebody told me something, which isn't true. But as you know, in China, they say a drowning man will grab a razor. And I was drowning. I'm ready to grab the razor. They told me that fast food was the quickest way to make the most money by putting up the least. None of that is true. It's hard to make money, it's expensive, and it's a lot of work, but I needed something. So I believed I wanted to open up a fast food restaurant. And in Chicago, why reinvent the wheel? Chicago is very popular hot dogs. There's 3,200 hot dog restaurants in Chicago. So I figured, well, I'm going to open up a hot dog place because people in Chicago like that. And then in doing so, with my idea, I wound up inventing something. I didn't know I was inventing anything. I am not an inventor. What am I going to invent? I don't know anything about inventions. But I invented something because I noticed something. You don't have to be Albert Einstein, you don't have to be brilliant, but I noticed something. And what I noticed was in 100 years, nothing changed in the hot dog business. It's been the same for year after year after year. Nothing has changed. And this is back in the early 80s. And they started to use a name called yuppie. It's people, baby boomers of my generation started to make money. They were out of college and they started to buy little homes and they were having babies and they started to have a couple dollars in their pocket. And the yuppies, so people were gearing towards them because this big generation has money. So I thought, wait a minute, even though it's the lowly hot dog, I came up with an idea, I'm going to put in Perrier water. That's the fancy water. No one even heard of it. Now everyone has Perrier, Pellegrino. It's the fancy water from France. It has bubbles in it. And then I decided to put in fresh, never frozen, charcoal-broiled swordfish sandwiches. No one ever heard of that in fast food. It wasn't done. I used to go every other day to the fish market and buy a big hunk of swordfish. Then I decided to put in white albacore tuna for the tuna sandwiches. No cheap tuna. So I had my idea, and no one would loan me money. You know, when you make a lot of money, everybody wants to give you money, and everybody wants to buy you dinner. When you don't have any money, nobody wants to know about you. You know, there's an old story about J.P. Morgan. He was it was very powerful 100 years ago. The bank, Morgan Bank, the Bank of Morgan, his family, it's still around. But someone once went to him. He had an office in New York in the United States. Went to him and said that he wanted to borrow $1 million from him. So J.P. Morgan thought about it, and he said, you know, here's what I'm going to do for you. I am not going to loan you the $1 million. But today, at lunchtime, I'll take a walk around Central Park with you, and then everybody will want to loan you $1 million, only because you got seen with J.P. Morgan. Well, that's what happens when you have a lot of money. Everyone wants to do something for you, but when you're broke, nobody does. I borrowed a couple of hundred here, a couple hundred there. I needed $60,000 or $70,000, I thought, to open it. So I went back to two friends I knew from trading. And I told them the story like I'm telling you now. And they stopped me in the middle, and they go, look at Barry. We don't know anything about Perrier water with hot dogs and fresh ground hamburgers. And by the way, the cheese for the got written up for, got famous for cheddar fries and cheese on the hamburger and the hot dogs. I had that shipped in from northern Wisconsin, Door County. That's in the United States in Wisconsin. That's real cheese, better than any other cheese in the country. I used to ship in the cheese. I had a big sign, our cheese is shipped in from Door County. But anyway, my friends told me that they will loan me the money. So I sold them 25% of the first restaurant for what I thought was 100% of the money. But I had never built a restaurant before. How would I know? So I did find an area. It's called River North. It's actually where I'm making this film right now. But though I was the first restaurant in River North, there was nothing around here. It was all artists and low rent and no people and no place to eat, and it didn't look great. But I was able to get a corner location for a cheap rent. So I took the money I had and I started some construction. I hired a contractor and I ran out of money almost immediately. Did I go through that money? Boy, did I miscalculate. So I went, and there was no money to be borrowed from anybody. So I went to the contractor who was building my restaurant, and I knew he was remodeling another place not far from here. And I went with my dad, and I told my dad, I'll do the talking. You look down. Look like you want to kill yourself. Look terrible, like the world came to an end. Look like this, and I'm going to talk to the guy. So me and my dad sat down. My dad's staring to the floor like this. I'm doing the talking. And I told him everything I'm telling you right now. And I took out the keys. He had about 10 keys on a ring. I took out the keys and I put them down. His name was Elliot Store Fixtures. And I said, Elliot, here's the deal. Either you have to finish my restaurant on payments. I have no more money. You have to finish it on payments, or there's the keys. It's yours. You own a half-built hot dog stand. So he said to me, do you have any collateral? And I go, yeah, I do. I got some very, very good collateral. He looked totally relieved. He goes, oh, wow, great. What? I said, my hand. I'll shake hands with you and I'll promise to pay you back. That's what I've got, my hand. Honest to God, I'll pay you back. Please, Elliot, I need a break. And he thought for a minute and then he goes, you've got yourself a deal, which was great because now I'm actually going to have a restaurant, except he put a limit on it of $85,000. And not a nickel more. Well, that left me $13,000 short to open. I didn't have enough money to open still. And then it dawned on me, I'm opening up in January. The air conditioning is $12,000. Who needs air conditioning? I'll put it in May or I'll be broke. So I told Elliot, look, don't put in any air conditioning. We're going to do that later. Then I had enough money to open. The problem is, with the air conditioning goes the heat. I opened up a restaurant January the 14th in Chicago, Illinois with no heat. You have no idea how cold it was in that restaurant. But it worked, and I was able to get almost open. I opened up January the 14th, 1985. The night before, January the 13th, 1985, I have one more problem. $9 in the checking account. I have no money to buy food. I have a restaurant, it's ready to go, and no money to buy food. And there's no place on earth that anyone's going to loan me any money. So this is what I did. I made a list of 10 people that I thought might loan me $20. I needed $200 worth of food. I needed $200 to buy the food. I didn't dare call them on the phone. On the phone, people have muscles. No, easier to say no. In person, it's harder to say no. So I went 10 people and I rang the doorbell and I tried to borrow $20. Everybody gave me that $20. Some of the people weren't so nice about it. One guy, he takes the 20 and he throws it at me. It hit my chest and fell on the floor. I lived in a 14-room house with 7 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms and got a new Cadillac every year, and he's bouncing the $20 U.S. bill off of me. Well, I didn't say one word. I picked it up and said, thank you very much. Other people were just, I was trying to explain to them I'm going to pay them back. One woman said, don't pay me back, don't come back. Whack, slammed the door right in my face. Gave me the 20 though. So, okay, so I had the $200 U.S., and I bought some hamburgers. The hamburgers I had made by a local butcher to my recipe, fresh, not frozen, fresh ground. I bought some hot dogs, I bought some hamburgers, I bought some buns, some mustard, some relish, and on January the 14th, 1985, we opened. The first customer comes in, my hands were shaking, I couldn't even make a sandwich. So I said to my dad, you make the sandwich. His hands were shaking. This is how we started a restaurant. Both so nervous, couldn't even make a sandwich. Well, the next day, I was only buying a day's worth of food at a time. It was a little busy that day, by the way, a little bit busy. Not real busy, not nobody, but it was some people came in a little bit busy. Now, the next day, the butcher comes with the hamburgers. I had ordered $80 worth of hamburgers. I do not have the $80 to give him. I do not. So I tell him when he comes, put them in the refrigerator, those hamburgers. Because once they're in the refrigerator, they're my hamburgers. So now he's got the little piece of paper like this. He's holding, it's the bill for $80. I don't have it. So I tell him, hold on one second there. So I go and I got 2 hamburgers and I put them on the grill and I cooked them up and I sold it. I got $4. I went and I handed him $4. I go, hold on one second there. And I put a couple of other hamburgers on the grill and I sold those. I went back to him another one. He goes, what are you doing? I go, hold on. And it took me about 45 minutes and I paid him the $80. That's how I started my business. I had no money for marketing. I had no money for advertising. I had no money for nothing. I was barely getting by. I didn't know the business. Nobody ever taught me the business. I'm barely hanging on by my teeth. But I did some unusual things to get my name known that really didn't cost me any money. There's a place in Chicago called Second City, and it's for learning how to be acting and comedians. And I went over there and I said, do you have any unemployed actors? So the girl said, are you kidding? Thousands of them. I said, do you think they'll want to make $20 for a couple hours work? Goes, yeah. So I hired some actors to come every day at lunchtime and tell jokes to the people in the restaurant because nobody ever did that before. I wanted to advertise and do marketing that nobody ever did before, and the lack of any money made me do that. So they would tell jokes. Another time I hired a magician, would do tricks. I did all kinds of stuff. One time I hired a band, a jazz band, to play out on the sidewalk and I got arrested. I didn't know you need a license for that, a carnival license. I didn't know that. And I'm trying to do unusual things and the business is building up a little and then something happened which completely was not in the game plan. Who would have thought of this? In June, it was either the 17th or 18th, I don't remember now, either June 17th or June 18th of 1985, a few months, 3-4 months after I opened, 6 months after I opened, my mother called me and she was crying and I thought my dad died. Why you call me so early? She said, an article in the paper, you have the best hot dog in Chicago. What? How'd that happen? Man, the line went out the door. The phone was ringing off the hook. Wow. And then a month later, the Tribune wrote me up for the best hot dog in Chicago. These are the big papers in Chicago, the Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Tribune in Chicago. Those are the 2 daily newspapers. They both wrote me up. And all of a sudden, I started getting write-ups that just became unbelievable. And the Wall Street Journal wrote me up, and it's everything. I wound up on TV. I was on CNN. I've been on David Letterman. It's just the most unbelievable experience. Somehow I was destined to have a rendezvous with destiny. And who would have believed this? I was on game shows. I was on CNN. I've been in People magazine. I've been in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times. It's unbelievable what happened to me. And I built it up, and I eventually had 15 restaurants and airports, and I sold them, all 15 in 2002. And the last year in business, I didn't make a difference. This is what I took in before all expenses, $9.5 million. I started with 80 cents at the bagel place. And a few years later, I was taking in $9 million a year from all of the restaurants. It was the most unbelievable thing that ever happened to me. Now, that's a very short version. I do other speeches where I could talk about this a little more in detail, how I overcame other problems, accounting problems and banking problems, a whole other thing, either for a classroom or for a different speech, or to break this into 2 or 3 days worth of speaking. But I learned certain things along the way, which I think will be useful to other people, either people in the restaurant business or people trying to get into the restaurant business. And I would like to read, just for a few minutes, some of those things. And I do an entire speech just about that, which I could easily do. But let me, okay. In martial arts, I've been taking martial arts for 25 years, but the teacher in the martial arts told us once when I first signed, he goes, I was afraid to spar. I was holding back, I was ducking, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And he said to me, Barry, sometimes in life you have to stop and face the tiger. There is no way to avoid that. Whatever that tiger is for you, maybe it's the dentist, you don't want to get a tooth pulled. Maybe it's going to the bank and asking for a loan. Maybe it's asking a girl on a date. Whatever, hello, would you like to go? Whatever it is, it's difficult to do. And my father told me, in life, ask for what you want. Don't be arrogant, don't be cocky, but if you want the job, ask for the job. If you want them to buy the piece of real estate from you, say, will you buy the condo from me? In life, stand up and ask for what you want, even if it's hard. You have to face the tiger. Okay, in business, be easy to do business with. Be approachable by your employees. Be approachable by people that sell you things that you need for your business. Just be easy to do business with, because if you're not, people will start to avoid you, and you don't want that. In the olden days, there was kings and emperors and stuff. And if they would come with bad news to the emperor for the king, they'd sometimes kill him just because they came with the bad news. They didn't do the bad news, he came with the bad news. So what would happen? Eventually they stopped getting the news. That's what would happen. And one day the kingdom goes away because they thought everything is great, and it's not. So they stopped getting information. You always want people to be giving you information. You could decide what's not valuable to you, what's useless to you, but be easy for people to approach you. The object, when you're dealing with customers, I'm talking now, say, to the restaurant business, because I know there's a lot of restaurants. That's where I learned this. In the restaurant business, the object is to make a customer come back. They're already there. They're already buying something from you. So you've got this sale. But you cannot make a lot of money by making one sale unless you're selling, something, a high-rise building where your commission is $100,000. But you need customers to come back over and over. So you should be selling them to come back. Say hello to them, say goodbye to them, say thank you to them. Give them something free. I used to pass out free cookies all the time. I'd pass out, when the magicians, I'd pass out a cookie. I would pass out bananas. I used to walk behind customers in my restaurant, and I would walk behind them, and I would look what the sandwich looks like. They would bite in, and if I would see there was no red, if it was all brown, I would take it out of their hand. I'd go, hold on one second. I would take away their hamburger and bring them a new one that was cooked properly. It was overcooked. That means it's overcooked. So you got to pay attention, make them come back. Bellman, okay, you want to make a, I'm starting to run out of time a little bit, but there's a saying, you want to make $1 million, look like $1 million. You never can tell when serendipity, when good luck crosses your path, and you have to look like it. So if you want to make $1 million, always look like $1 million. I remember one time at the register, I could tell you 100 stories like this. I'll just tell you one. I'm running the register, the store is packed, the line's outside onto the sidewalk, and someone said, Barry, there's someone at the register wants to talk to you. So I walk over there, I go, yes. And he goes, you're Barry. I could tell because I saw your picture in a magazine, and I just wanted to come in to say hello. His name was Ed Brennan. At the time, Sears was the largest company in the world. He was the chairman of the board of Sears. Good thing I wasn't acting like a dope or dressed like a bum. But you want to make $1 million, look like $1 million. There was an actor, Adolphe Menjou, and by the way, how long can I talk for? Another 10 minutes? Okay. Sure. All right, good. There's an actor, Adolphe Menjou, and I was watching TV with my dad, many, many, many years ago, and my dad says, do you see that guy there? I go, yeah. He says, that's Adolphe Menjou. He's known as the best dressed man in Hollywood. I go, no kidding. He says, let me tell you his story. He was a young man in New York, and he heard that they started making movies. They used to make movies, the silent movies, back in the 20s, in New York and Chicago. But now there's new movies coming out, talkies. You could talk and hear the person, and they're going to start making those in Los Angeles. So Adolphe Menjou took a train from New York to Los Angeles. When he landed, he had $100 to his name, U.S., $100. And with the $100, he bought a new suit, a new shirt, a new tie, a top hat, and he was known for walking with a cane, everything. He had $5 left. He spent it all in clothes. And there was a brand new studio called Warner Brothers. It was just starting, 3 or 4 brothers, last name Warner. And he went in and he talked to Jack Warner, just starting a brand new studio. And he told Jack Warner that he wanted to be in movies. So Jack Warner said, "Oh, did you ever take any acting lessons?" He says, "No." "Did you ever do any plays in New York?" "That play? No." "Do you know anything about acting?" He goes, "No." So Jack Warner hired him, and he became one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. And years later, when they asked Jack Warner, "What did you see in Adolphe Menjou? How come you hired a guy, never acted? What did you see in him?" And Jack Warner fumbled, and he couldn't come up with a good answer. And he says, "Well, he looked like a movie star. The guy looked great. The guy looked great. Became a movie star. You want to make $1 million? Look like $1 million. Dress good at all times." Look at, a lot to be good, a little bit gets you excellent. It doesn't pay not to try to be excellent. It's not that from here to here you have to work in a day to get good, and then from here all the way out here to become excellent. No. Most of the work comes in getting good. You got to get up and brush your teeth and comb your hair and eat something and drive or get on a bus and go to work for 8 or 10 hours. A little bit more makes you excellent. It doesn't pay not to do that. Don't settle for good. The whole world is good. You're not going to get anywhere being good. You have got to be excellent. One of the keys to success, I think, I'm going to read a little list in a few minutes, what I think traits that successful people have is. But one of them, you have to separate from the herd and be different. Don't be like everybody else, because the whole world can't get anywhere. If it's like a herd of horses, you want to be in the front. If you can't be in the front, you want to be on the side. If I can't be on the front or the side, then I want to be in the back. Because if you get into the middle of the herd, nobody will notice you. The idea in life is to become a diamond in a barrel of marbles. You know, marbles, it's a little glass ball like this that you play a game with. It's a little glass ball. They're not worth anything. And you know, everyone knows what a diamond is. If you have a barrel of marbles and there's 2 or 3 diamonds in there, it's easy to go through, take a look in 2 minutes and pick out where the diamonds are. That is your job, to become a diamond in a barrel of marbles. Okay, everyone has a flame that burns inside of them, whether you like it or not. If you deny it, it's a losing flame. But inside of you burns a flame. It's a winning flame or a losing flame. Here's the thing. If a person's a liar, that's a problem. Because eventually you're going to get caught lying when you should be telling the truth. You're going to get caught. There's a way to avoid it. Don't lie. If you don't lie, you can't get caught lying. Same with the winning flame. Don't get caught acting like a loser when you should be talking like a winner. That flame that burns in you, never let it go down and make it a winning flame. What do I mean by that? Let's pretend you're late for work. You're at home. You live alone. You're running out the door to get to work, and you look down, and by the front door is a pair of dirty socks. If you step over them and go to work, 10 hours later you come back through the door, they're still there. No one will know you didn't pick them up. What do? You pick them up. Because that's, and go put it by the dirty clothes, then go to work. Not after work, before work. Because that's how you relate to your environment around you. And you will not get caught acting like a loser when you should be acting like a winner. Okay. I think that you should practice failing. To the new entrepreneurs and to budding entrepreneurs, practice failing. Get good at it. What do I mean by that? Okay. I mean that, how do I want to fail? I want to fail on my horse, charging forward with my sword over my head. That direction. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's good failing, if you go down that way. What's bad failing? To sit in the chair and go, it'll never work, it's a lousy idea, the bank will never give me the money, and never try. Bad failing. Be good failing. Go for it. Because 4 or 5 or 6 times you might go down. One time that horse might make it through, and then you've got it. You become a successful person. Most people I know that have made a lot of money have gone broke 2 or 3 or 4 times trying things. You never give up, though. In life, there's one direction, and one direction only, forward. Backwards is out of the question. I don't want to discuss backwards. Neutral, doing nothing, is backwards. You have only one direction, that way. And if you fall down, you're allowed 2 seconds to dust off your knees like this, and then start moving forward. Do not make an excuse. Don't make a reference to the cut on your knee. Who makes the excuses, the winners or the losers? And do not lay there and moan and complain. The whole world moans and complains. Winners stand up and keep on walking. That's your only direction in life, is forward. Look at, when you open a restaurant, you think that you became, or you go to work in a restaurant, you think you became an employee in a restaurant, and the owner thinks he opened the restaurant, which is true. But you also got a second job that went along with it. And that second job is in show business. And when you come out from behind that wall, from the kitchen, and you walk out onto the stage in the dining room, showtime. If you got a headache, don't show it. If your girlfriend or boyfriend's giving you a hard time, pretend, act. Everything is great. Go and talk to the customers. Go and talk to the people. Go and talk to your employees. This is how you act. Never mind that your head hurts, people. And never, if things aren't going well, never, ever, ever blame it on being busy. I hate that in a restaurant where things are going bad, or taking too long, or the food got messed up, and they go, we're very busy tonight. I snap back. Being busy is the object, not the problem. Don't ever blame it on me. Someone hoped to be busy. They put up a lot of money opening this place. Don't say it's bad because it's busy. Okay. Every single day, your business has to get better and better. If it doesn't, you've wasted a day in business. Somehow, some way, make your business better. Go and shake hands with people out in the dining room. Go outside and talk to people going by. Something, anything to make your business. Come up with an idea for a new piece of equipment. Come up with a new idea how to make your sandwich better. But somehow make that business better. Just don't open and close and open and close. Look at, life is a gigantic first date, whether it's in your personal life or in your business. And on a first date where you have never seen the girl, or the girl has never seen the boy, and you knock on the door, knock, 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 and the door opens. If you're a boy or a man, let me explain you something. Your hair better be combed. You better take a shave. You better have a crease in the shirt. You better have a crease in the pants, because if you show up needing a shave and your hair is not combed, your shoes are dirty, and you go, next time, I'm going to do it better, guess what? There is no next time. It's all a gigantic first date. That's what life is. And think about that. Every time you walk into your business, anytime you're taking a bus to your business, it's a gigantic first date. Not for you, but for the people coming into your restaurant. Okay. Let me just give you 2 fast definitions of what I think an entrepreneur is. I think, I got a list of 20 things I could talk about, but I will at a later speech. But I believe that an entrepreneur, a good definition of an entrepreneur, is somebody that has the ability to hit a target that no one even knows is there. I don't want to pat myself on the back. I can't even put my hand up there anymore at my age. But listen, when I did notice something in my business, and that is that nothing had changed in 100 years. I didn't do an Einstein thing. I'm not a rocket scientist. I put in Perrier water. I did it a little different. I upgraded it just a little bit, and it was enough to make a difference. So, to hitting a target, let me tell you something. Alexander the Great, when he was 12, he lived 2,200 years ago. He conquered most of a part of the world around the Mediterranean. And anyways, he died at a young, but he was Alexander the Great, one of the greatest generals ever. He had heard about the Gordian knot. There was something called the Gordian knot, and the Gordian knot was a knot that could not be undone. Couldn't undo it. Impossible. For 100 years, people tried. No one could undo the knot. And it was said, he who undid the knot will rule the world. So he asked his father, the king of Macedonia, I want to go try the Gordian knot. It's about 400 or 500 miles away. So the king, all right, give it a try. So he sent I don't know, his son with hundreds of troops to protect him, and he went to this other country, and he goes into the big room or hall or wherever it was, the Gordian knot, and there it was. And there's people trying. So it comes his turn, and he gets up there, and he tries to undo the knot. And he sees, like everyone else, it can't be undone. So he stands back from the knot, and he takes out his sword, and he cuts it in half. And that was it. He undid the knot. He was the first person to undo it. Now, this was not like he didn't build a rocket that went to Mars. I mean, how come it never dawned on him? Because he thought a little bit differently. So don't think that you have to think way differently. Sometimes a little differently is enough. And also, there's a saying that entrepreneurship is the last bastion of the troublemaker. Entrepreneurs are troublemakers. They don't accept the way that things are. They make it different. In a better way, in a good way. I don't mean a troublemaker making a bad way. I mean in a good way. All right. I want to read you, I'm near the end, but I would want to read you what I think certain traits, and there's more, I'm only going to read a few of them to you, certain traits that successful people have. In my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. You don't have to agree with me, but in my opinion. I think that successful people are optimistic. That's it. From what I have noticed. There's more successful people that are optimists than pessimists. I think that successful people are daydreamers. You know, when I was in grammar school and I was bouncing off the walls, I used to look out the window all the time daydreaming. And the teacher told me that's not good. You can't daydream, Barry. You're never going to learn anything if you daydream. I think it's the healthiest thing you could do. Now, they sent me to the principal's office, and the principal, he tried to talk me out of being a daydreamer. But I think that successful people are good daydreamers. I think that successful people have the ability to make it happen. Everyone could come up with an idea. Making it happen is a different thing. Many, many years ago, someone invented something called the pet rock. It was a rock. You bought it as a pet. It was ridiculous. But it came with instructions how to give it food and stuff. So everyone, and the guy made a couple $1 million on it, the girl, whoever did it. And everyone said, boy, I wish I could have thought of the pet rock. Really? 99 out of every 100 people wouldn't know how to make it a success. They don't have the ability to make it happen. That's a completely different ballgame. Okay, laser beam focus. Everyone says it, no one does it. It's very, very difficult. When I was building my business, the first 6 years, I worked 7 days a week for 6 years. I never took a day off. Now, when I was doing other things, I always was thinking about my business. No matter what I was watching TV, if I ever went to a movie, eating in a restaurant, whatever I did in the back of my mind was that restaurant. I never let that thought out. And when I got to that restaurant, there was 100% concentration on how to make it better. Okay, I think successful people have courage. I think they're brave. It takes a lot of guts. It takes courage to be an entrepreneur. Often you have to go stand on the end of the pier in a driving snowstorm all by yourself with frozen snow here and no one to help you. And you have to maintain your enthusiasm and courage and move forward. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone could do it. And then it wouldn't mean anything. That's why it means something. Okay. I think successful people learn from their mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I don't like people that don't make mistakes. They do it, they just don't admit it. I don't like that. Everyone makes mistakes. Learning from your mistakes is a different deal. You know, when I used to have a problem, like someone didn't change the oil properly, or there was a delivery order that was made wrong, I would say, who did it? No one would admit to it, my employees. So I would say, whoever did it, if you admit it, I'll give you $20 right now. And then they say, well, Barry, I screwed up that order. I give them $20 in front of the other people. See, I rewarded them for being honest, not for making a mistake on the food. I explained to them why you did the hamburger wrong and so on and so forth. But I rewarded the honesty that you stepped up to the plate and made a mistake and admitted it to me. Okay, I think in life, to be successful, to be a successful entrepreneur, you never have to work more than a half a day. I think more than that, people are kidding you. The person that started the Holiday Inns, they're all over the world. They're in China. I stayed at one in Xinjiang. Back in the 60s, he sold it, Holiday Inn, way at the beginning. I think he got about $200 million. But it was a lot of money. Now it was really a lot of money then. And he never graduated high school. And the high school that he went to called him back after he made this big success, and they gave him an honorary degree, a high school degree. And they asked him, I'm allergic to something in the room, they asked him to give the speech for the graduating class. So he gave the speech, blah, blah. And then he said something that made it to the national news. This is like around 1965 or 1966. And I was driving in the car and I heard it. So I'm going to tell you what he said. After talking blah, 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 he said to the class, remember, to be successful, you never have to work more than half a day. Don't let anybody kid you. You can work the first 12 hours or the second 12 hours. It doesn't matter. But you got to work half a day. You got to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, or 7 days a week in order to be a success. Okay, I think successful people get something worthwhile out of everything they do, no matter what it is. Even if it's just sweeping the floor, successful people get something out of it. Watch how you're sweeping. Think of better ways to be sweeping the floor. I could go on and on and on. At a moment of a complaint, the customer is not yet upset, how you handle it. I was very well known for turning complaints into positives. I'd buy them and everyone dinner. I'd bring cakes. It would be a positive thing. They walked away going, that's a great restaurant over there. When it started from a problem, the food is screwed up. Someone messed up the food. But I could talk like this forever. I'm going to end with your competitive edge. I'll talk about that at a different speech. I have many, many things to talk about. But listen, there's a few different kinds of people that try to become entrepreneurs. One type of person, which I want to be, is they have the ability to make it happen. And some people watch it happen. And some people wondered, what just happened? What you want to be is the person that makes it happen. That's what you want to be. Don't be the sideline and watch, and don't be the one that asks what just happened. And now I'm going to end this tape with telling you, I turn everything from war into business. So I read a lot of war stuff. Not that I'm a war guy or I'd kill anybody. I don't want to do any of that. But I look at it similar to being a business. When you open up a restaurant, say, you are at war with all the other restaurants around you. And there's a way to tell who wins, who's got more money. That's who won. So I love the game of it. I would like to outsmart the enemy. And it's not really enemy. I would know them, but it's a fake war. I would like to think of new things, clever things. I want them to chase me. And we could go back to many, many, many articles, people copying what I did. And by the way, after I put in the Perrier water, every hot dog place in Chicago put in Perrier water. And after I put in swordfish sandwich, everyone had fish sandwiches. I was the first one to do all of that stuff. Let them chase me. I don't want to be chasing anybody else. And my heroes, the people that inspire me. What was the last thing I was talking about? Well, okay, in any event, my heroes are, I know what I was talking about. Okay. Did I turn war into a game, and it's really for business. The British SAS, the British Special Forces, have a saying, those who dare win. I like that. Those who dare win. You can't win without daring. You got to try. You got to go for it. Remember, failing good, fail good. At West Point, is where they train the United States Army's officers. West Point, they teach them that most armies in the world train to survive. Losers. You have to train to win. Same in a business. Don't go to survive. Go to win. If you open up your business and you're doing enough business that you're making a couple $100 a day, just don't go for the next 20 years. Open and close, open and close. No, make it better. Paint it a different color. Maybe you'll bring in a new sandwich. Maybe your wife or you go stand by the door and shake hands with the people coming in. Maybe they'll bring a new person the next time. Just don't survive. Win. Go to win. All right. Let me tell you my three heroes who inspire me. I use it for business. Remember that. Not for war. Okay. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of England during World War II. And after the war, he wasn't the Prime Minister anymore, but they invited him to a school in the United States to give the commencement speech. I think it might have been Harvard or Yale, to give the speech. You know how sometimes the president goes. Anyways, he went and he gave a very, very, very famous speech. At the time, people didn't like it, but they still talk about it. And he got up on the podium and he said, never, never, never give up. And turned around and went back and sat down. That was his speech. I go, what? He's supposed to talk for an hour. He said, never, never, never give up. And that's it. But people still talk about it 80 years later. It's great words. And that's my advice to you. Never, never, never give up trying to get your business opened. If you do get it opened, to make it a success. Okay, Alexander the Great said, better to go out in a blaze of glory than never to have tried at all. That's right. You go down in a blaze of glory. Don't go down meek like this. It'll never happen. You get on your horse and you charge forward with that sword over your head. And Napoleon, the emperor of France, who took over all of Europe, Napoleon Bonaparte, he said that glory might be fleeting, but obscurity lasts forever. My advice to you is do not have an obscure life. You try for it. You go for it. You rise up for however long it lasts. You go for it. It's called, if you've ever heard the term, the brass ring. Every now and then, if you're lucky enough, the brass ring will serendipity pushes it by you. If it goes, you grab and you stretch and you try to grab that. And if you're lucky enough to grab that brass ring, do not, under any circumstances, let it go. And you ride that thing to success. Shisha, Tsai-jen, and thank you for listening to me. And I will make more tapes like this for the future. And Tsai-jen.